It's like, what if, I have to go through this learning curve and I go on dates and you have to learn. And now once you go through that, no, I don't go on 3 dates a week anymore, nothing like that. That was just a phase. And that's where you got to figure it out. But it's where our generation X men and X women, I don't know if the dynamics, if generation X men, there's a percentage of men that do want those women, but there's a percentage of men that not necessarily looking for that, because most of our wives were our age. So if you're 53, there's a great chance that your wife was maybe a year younger, year older. Now you are 53 years old. Most women are not going to the gym. Most women are not taking care of themselves. Most men I see in the gym are Black men. So it's just like, so the dynamics isn't even matching up anymore. Because my daughter would ask me all the time, Dad, why don't you like her? I said, well, I had to pull her to the side and show her what my options were at 53 years old on Bumble or anything like that. And she was like, okay, I see now. So I'm just saying, it's just real truth. You don't understand your age until you start standing next. Black men get better with age. That's not our fault. That's just a reality. That's just a given fact. So it just, we have to understand is that it's okay to like who you want to like. Now, again, I wouldn't date 25 again, but the age I usually date is 40 and up now. So that creates a very good dynamic. So,
Yeah, Lamar is definitely on it. I mean, I got married at 21, and I was a virgin when I got married, and I didn't know what hole to put it in. So that's how ignorant I was.
Dr. V. Oh man! Oh God! Wow!
So
it's always been real, though. El, you remember?
I
like you, majority of my life, you've been a realster.
I like it. Can't laugh about it. So I made a lot of mistakes in my first marriage, because as the Bible says in Hosea, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And when it comes from a church perspective, it ain't enough information out there. So get married so you won't burn. That was my scripture, but we need more than that, more context. So back to Lamar's point, which is very powerful. How can a man lead a wife if he don't know himself first? So I had to know who I am. I had to know what my likes were, my dislikes were, what I enjoy, what I did not enjoy. And I didn't do that because I was so spiritually minded that I wasn't no heavenly good. And so a lot of things I've, made mistakes at. So that's why in my second marriage, Lord have mercy, I feel like speaking in tongues. It's so much better. Virgin 2 much better, because now I have a knowledge of what to do and what not to do. And that's why it's not perfect, but it's so much better. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Wow. So
go ahead, Stacey. You want to say something, Stacey?
Well, I want to echo that, Dr. B. You kind of talked about, and I appreciate your honesty and your realness, because there is this aspect where coming more from a faith background, we were taught basically more of the external stuff. And there was never really too many conversations, even about the whole aspect of emotional and mental health. Because believe it or not, and it's a proven fact, though, that most of us that come from more of a faith background, there's a lot of suppressed trauma that we do not deal with. And as a result of entering into a relationship, one thing I realized, and all of us have experienced marriage, even though, Brother Lamar, you're not married in this season, or Lawrence, though, we all can agree that marriage has a way of exposing things in our lives, especially things since we were young as children. And as a result of that, it exposes things in our lives and exposes things in our wives' lives, right? But the thing was, there never was this, how can I say it? I never really saw modeled this dynamic of how do I, as a man, especially a man of color, especially a man of African descent that deals with a lot of trauma. There's studies that have even proven this. Trauma can run through your gene pool, right? There's traumas that can even run through your gene pool. People don't even want to talk about that. Me as an African American man have to deal with trauma, right? Ancestral trauma. And then there's also trauma that you deal with growing up. I mean, Lawrence, we grew up in the hood, man. We grew up in the hood. Dr. B, you knew how we grew up in the dirty water, right? And there was trauma from that. And then you get involved in these relationships, and these sisters have the trauma too but we just were giving the spiritual disciplines, and the spiritual disciplines, they sustained us, but we needed the healing from the trauma. And the trauma was never really addressed because we felt like we didn't have enough faith if we couldn't press through the mental trauma or the mental agony. Something was wrong with you if you wanted to say, you know what, I know God is real, but emotionally right now, I'm struggling right now. Emotionally right now, I don't know if I really want to be in conversation with you right now. Emotionally right now, I think I want to take a break. I don't want to talk to you for a few days. You get what I'm saying? So that hurt us, man. That hurts relationships too.
The trauma that Stacey's talking about is very true. Most men know this. Most men don't know this, that in the 1920s and 30s, when they hung us like crazy, strange fruit, they castrated us. They castrated us because when you hang a man, his apparatus gets engorged. And so those who hung us did not want their women to see, wow, look how they work when dead, how much more they work when they're alive. So there's a lot of trauma for Black men, even breeding grounds during slavery times, we've never healed from. And so as Stacey said correctly, we bring that trauma into our relationships, and we wonder why things are not working. It's because we never dealt with the pain that's in our system. Very good point, Stacey. You are right about that, sir.
Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, so, again, I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a product of a single mother household. And it took me a longer time to develop as a man because I wasn't surrounded by it. So my brother and I, 5 years apart, and I give a lot of kudos to my brother by going against the grain. And he was just like, this cannot be the way, and long story short, we come out the backside of it, just him and I just talking it through. As I went through my divorce, I went to therapy. And what I found out is, my mom was in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, it's hard to make good decisions. Yeah. And I forgave, and through therapy, I forgave her for the badness of things that we had to go without. And I leaned into my grandmother a lot as a kid. She picked up in that unconditional love. That's where that came from. When she passed, I looked for that. She's been gone for almost 11 years now. We had a great relationship. And when she passed, I looked for my wife to pick up that. And she didn't. And that was the beginning of the disintegration of our marriage, because that was something that I needed. I got mommy issues, but my grandmother filled those in. My wife, when my grandmother left, my wife didn't do it. So now I have this void, and I'm like, it's got to be more. Love's got to feel better than this. My marriage was not bad. We were college sweethearts. We grew up together. We had a wonderful life together, but there was something in it that needed more. I needed to be loved a certain way, and I wasn't listened to. And after a while, you just say, hey, I'm not doing this no more. And I can honestly say, being away from her for 9 years, growing up with her as a young man, I've never missed her. And it's sad. I've never missed that woman. And we grew as kids together. I mean, we'd ride in her car and dream and what we could do and this and that. As I grew as a man, she didn't want to follow because she attached me to the 20-year-old boy that was lost at the beginning of that marriage. So at some point, I had to walk away because I am a big person on respect and admiration. That has to be there. I'm not really big on love. You ain't got to love me. You got to respect me. You got to admire who I am as a person.
Lamar, I'm going to tell you what's kind of interesting, man. I mean, when you look at the canon of scripture, and I think it's Ephesians, it talks about the fact that it said that the writer said, husband, love your wives. I remember Dr. B used to tell me that all the time. But it also said, it didn't tell the wives to love their husband. It said, wives, respect your husband. Respect. And I think that's a value. I think that's an internal value that a lot of men want. They want respect, man. They want to feel respected. They want to feel honored.
Yep. Yeah, the thing about though is that, so the Bible does say correctly, Stacey, submitting yourselves one to another. All right. But if I'm going to be the leader, now this is where it gets really fuzzy for some people. I got to lead my wife in everything. I just can't lead her in lay hands on me at nighttime or in the morning time or afternoon, whatever. I got to be leadership in everything. So if I want her to submit to me, I got to show her submission. So if my wife says, can I get this on Amazon or can we go here? All right, I'm going to change my schedule because I'm going to submit to what you need, because I do not agree with, and this is very controversial, I do not believe in happy wife, happy life. Can't stand it. You know why? It's not biblical. It says happy wife, happy husband, happy life. That's how it should work, because my job is to please my wife's job is to please me, and now we're happy. But again, there has to be a servant leadership in the relationship, and it starts with the man. I tell men all the time, you are the thermostat, they are the thermometer. I'll say one more time again. We as men, we are the thermostat. We set the temperature. They read the temperature. So back to Stacey's point, if I'm not dealing with my trauma or my pain, then when they go off left, I'm going to go off left too with them. Nah, it doesn't work that way. My job as a man is to be the thermostat. Baby, we're going to set it. So if she goes whatever, I'm remaining calm. I'm remaining cool. All right, sweetheart, tell me what's going on in your mind. And also make sure I'm not bringing the trauma, or dare I say, I'm not triggering the trauma within her as well as within myself as well.
Oh, you guys are on point, man. I don't want to interrupt. I wanted to talk a little bit. Well, first of all, let me say thank you to Death Before Dishonor for the $5. For the most part, we as Black men over the last 10 years have been self-improving. Black women have not. They sacrifice family for hedonism. Are you all, any of you all, noticing that as far as the sacrificing that lady? And there was a study that was done by Pew Research saying that something like 57% of men want to get married, where now that number is down to like 46 in comparison to 46% of women. So now men want to get married more versus women want to get married, and versus women want to get married less.
I would say to his first statement, the going to therapy, is a self-improvement. I meet more men that have done that than women, and that's just general conversation, just talking to people, because that's one of the questions when I meet someone I lead with. Have you been to therapy? And in most part, they have not, and I don't know why the reluctance to go to therapy, to say, hey, I do need some work. We all need some work. We need, I've been back. I went back to therapy just so my ex-wife couldn't use that as a crutch anymore, that I drug my daughter into therapy as well. So I'm like, guys, I don't have a problem going to therapy. You guys are the only one that's not going. So as I go, my daughter starts looking, she's 26. She starts going, hold on, man. Everything you've been telling me it ain't matching up no more. And that's where I am with my child, So it's just
so Lauren, when you say everything you ain't telling me ain't matching up anymore, are you saying that when she talks to her mom, she says that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's because she came over and we hung out a couple of weeks ago, and the comment was, why am I being led to believe that you over here unhappy and lonely and this and that? And she's looking at me, and I said, do you think I'm that way? She said, absolutely not. She said, you look like you got it figured out. I'm like, Daddy's okay, baby. I said, I've actually done the work. I've really done. I spend time by myself. I've done the work, and I've had relationships and friendships with women that they look and go, I've had a woman tell me, I'm not mature enough to deal with you yet.
Yeah. I'm realizing that this is a thing though. Just even doing, I'm not a therapist. I don't provide clinical treatment or nothing like that. What I do, as a matter of fact, I even have, the members at my church signed a disclaimer letting them know this is not clinical treatment. This is just personal discipleship. And we're just here to encourage you. And I encourage them to actually go to therapy. You get what I'm saying? Because this is not, I'm just providing encouragement. I've got a lot of training in this area, done a lot of study and all that kind of stuff, educated in a lot of areas. But one of the things I'm realizing that a lot of the women that I've had conversation with, they're in survival mode. And in the process of being in survival mode, what happens is, like, when they get into a place of being in therapy, there is literally like there's just kind of like this natural instinct within their soul to have them want to really escape, because it's a very painful process to go through the level of trauma. Because, a lot of times when I'm having conversations with them, a lot of them, their logic is based on the emotional state where they're at. And it's interfused with that. And I think, Dr. B, you probably can touch on a little bit more within this though. But it's kind of like, So a lot of them have to be real hard nosed. It's kind of like they have to be hard, right, to survive.